The-
Tissue, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
calling
thinking,
it the wrong thing. Thank you.
oh, this is our, we're starting out, oh, that was, okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Should I? Mr. Sergio, calling Mr. Sergio. Where's Dr. Kelly?
I can't say over the dial.
There she is, both of you. He's right behind you. I already did it.
At least I had an excuse. I would just grab it. You should wear that color more often. That's really pretty.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All right. Everybody ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Good evening, and I am calling our meeting tonight, this Tuesday, December 16th at 7:36 p.m. And we are convening our meeting in honor of Sophia Rina Gerardo, born December 7th, 2025, to parents Ricardo and Emily Gerardo, and grandparents Ricardo Gerardo. That's Ricky from the merengue. Well, congratulations, and so great to convene our meeting in honor of little Sophia. And followed by the invocation. Do we have Reverend Tatkin here?
You're good. You're good.
Oh, there you are. I was looking for you in the front row. Where is he? And then followed by our Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Larry Spicer.
All right.
As we face these longest of nights, we pray for days of peace. In this time of darkness and division, we pray for light. We pray for the light of patience to brighten our spirits. We pray for the light of compassion to brighten our hearts. We pray for the light of generosity to brighten our souls. And we pray for the light of hope to brighten our imaginations. We pray for the light of healing to brighten our broken places. And we pray for the light of graciousness to brighten our relationships. We pray for the light of togetherness to brighten our loneliness. And we pray for the light of truth to brighten our world. We pray with gratitude for our many blessings. We pray with sorrow for our losses. We pray with anger over injustices in our world. And we pray with humility for our failure to do enough. We pray with determination for our ability to change. May we be led through this holy season by the love and hope made manifest in our many religious traditions. Blessings and peace be with all of you this day and always. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Ready? Begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Okay. Then can we please have roll call?
Council members Belden,
Present.
Jimenez,
Here.
Spicer,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly.
Here.
And Mayor Shevlin.
Here. We did have a closed session, and I will ask Craig Steele, our city attorney, for a report out.
Thank you, Mayor. Prior to the meeting this evening, the council met in closed session regarding the two items on the posted agenda. With regard to item CS2, Mayor Shevlin declared a conflict of interest due to the fact that the property owner is a client of her employer and did not participate in that item. The council took no reportable action on either of the two items.
Thank you. And then we have lots of fun this evening. Our presentations and proclamations, we're going to start off on, I think you've gotten the kind of the theme. We're not too ugly this year, though, although I don't know about Larry. So our PR1 is Ugly Sweater Contest. Now, who's going to mediate or facilitate our contest?
I guess I am Mayor Shevlin.
Okay, all right.
So we'll start, I think anybody participating, right? Do we have them
Well,
come
I
up
think
in the
the
past?
council, and I know Dylan in his dinosaur suit.
Larry, come on, you got your Christmas pajamas on.
How ugly Belden is.
Yeah,
I see three staff members with sweaters right there. Come on up, come on up, come on up. Sarah?
Come
You
on
got a
up.
kitty cat sweater.
Anybody else?
Come on up. Yeah.
Tiff? Tiff?
Okay, I like that.
All right, so we'll do this by a round of applause from the audience, all right? So I guess I'll go and I'll highlight. You've got it? Okay. Lauren's got it. So we can start closest to us. We have Vinny. Next we have John. I think we all think Austin just said there's no ugly there, but go for it. Then behind us, we've got Sergio Jimenez, council member. Oh. There you go. All right. Followed by Mayor Shevlin. Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly. Councilmember Belden. Councilmember Spicer. Our beloved City Attorney Steele. And City Manager Dylan Feek. I think there's clearly three leaders, so if we can narrow this down to Councilmember Jimenez, Councilmember Spicer, and City Manager Feek, we're going to have to just do a second round. All right, so with Councilmember Jimenez, what do we think? Councilmember Spicer. And City Manager Feek. I don't know, I think it was Councilmember Spicer.
Great, come on.
Maybe we need to show our legs.
And you did it without showing leg, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to PR2, Pasadena Humane Pet of the Month, and we have Saint here this evening with us. 2-year-old shepherd. Saint is an angel, I hear.
That's right. Good evening, everybody. Yes, I did bring what I would call our backup dog tonight, but he actually is the star of the show. This is Saint. He is a 2-year-old German Shepherd. He's been with us at the shelter for about a month and a half, and it's mind-boggling why he hasn't been adopted. Super well-trained, super sweet, very friendly with everyone he meets. He even got to participate in a yoga class today. We have a yoga
wow.
instructor who comes in, and he was her yoga assistant. So this guy is perfect. And to sweeten the pot a little bit, we are in the middle of an adoption promotion called Home for the Holidays. Ideally, trying to get all of our dogs and cats into homes before the holidays. So he is he can be adopted at no charge from now until the 31st. So if you're looking to add a big dog or cat to your home, now's a great time to do it. Get them home for the holidays.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, come on, we got to take a
I know,
picture with you.
yeah. I mean, we need a picture with the outfits for sure.
Just excited.
Well, I hope Saint gets to go home for the holidays. That's a great deal, so remember that. Free adoption through the 31st, I think he said. Okay, now, what I know many of you have been waiting for, PR3 Holiday Home Decorating and Old Town Window Decorating Contest Award winners. And Tiffany Peterson, our Recreation Supervisor, will fill in for us here on this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Shevlin and City Council members. This evening, we have the pleasure of assisting you with recognizing and congratulating the Holiday Home Decorating winners and Old Town Window Display Contest winners. This year, we had over 22 entries who shared their holiday joy with the community. We would like to thank the Community Services Commission who helped to determine the awards we will be giving out this evening. Tonight, we will be congratulating each winning entry with a certificate of recognition and a window sign to display all year long. So at this time, I'll call them up individually, and if you'd all like to come down to take a photo with them, that'd be much appreciated. So first up, we have our best still display, which is 126 Melrose Avenue, and that's Bernie and Boss Hanzo. Come on up. Yeah. Yeah. Next up, we have our best outdoor display, which is 541 Valmont Drive, and this is the Rodriguez family. Are we in attendance tonight? I don't think they're present. Next, we have our most effective use of lighting, which is 308 West Lemon Avenue, and that is Joey and Emma Arellano. Next, we have our Children's Choice Award, which is 632 Torado Drive, and we have Bob and Tricia McCowan in attendance. Come on up.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. We'll do this one first. And now take this. There we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, congratulations.
Next, we have our Best Neighborhood Effort, which is Valmont Drive and Place. In attendance, we have George and Carol Hills and Susie Martin. Come on up.
Congratulations, Valmont. Put the work in.
Yeah, of course. Next, we have Santa's Workshop Award, which is 519 West Colorado Boulevard. And we have Stephanie, Mike, Aurora, Michael, Xander, and Reyes Salcedo.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. We're also a Halloween house, if you guys have been around Colorado. So he always builds the best. We're honoring him this week. We're convinced he's.
Next, we have the Holiday Spirit Award, which is 12 Hidden Valley Road. With us tonight is Jim, Joni, and Johnny Maines. Come on up.
Ready? Oh. One, two, three. Down this side. Perfect. Thank you.
And our final award for our houses is our Judges Award, which is 426 East Walnut Avenue, which is Samantha Jose and Margarita Diaz.
Alright, ready? One, two, three. I'll take down this one. One, two, three. Perfect. Thank you. Congratulations.
Now we're going to move into our Old Town Window Decorating Contest winners. First up, we have our most spectacular, which is California Drum Shop. We have Dan, Mary, and Aaron.
Congratulations. Your shop looks great.
Ready? One, two, three. Ready? One, two, three. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Next, we have our most holiday spirit, which is Hot Shots Salon. Leslie and Bernice are here to accept their award.
You guys look great. You should have been in the contest.
I'm an accessory to the window, don't worry. Yes, you did. All right, let's. We'll find you in there. Where's Councilmember Belton? All right, one. Ready, one, two, three. Congratulations.
Next up, we have our Judges Award, which is Jake's Roadhouse. We have Miguel and Nicole here.
Not only is your food excellent, your artistic ability.
All right, ready? One, two, three. Ready? One. All
And to round out our awards for the evening, we have Most Creative, which is Suo. We have Janine Herrera here with us tonight.
Ready? One, two, three.
Well, again, congratulations to all the winners. Thank you, council. And happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Great job, everyone. That's what makes Monrovia look so fun. Okay. We do not have a student government representative report tonight. And then we are moving on to order of business. I believe there is an item to be pulled from the consent calendar. It's CC9, correct?
CC9, correct.
But we will go ahead and the remainder of the consent calendar, CC1 through CC21. And there is also, we are pulling a CC18. And there's a CC3. The attached disposition form was distributed after the agenda was posted. And on CC19, there were a couple of typos in terms of the date. So with that, let's see if we can remember. These are ordinary in business. And so CC1 through CC21, but we are pulling CC9 and we are pulling CC18. Do I have a motion?
And CC3, right?
No, that just was a
With amendment.
correction, with a notation that a document was added.
With all that was said, I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Great, we have a motion and a second without further discussion then, so approved. And then CC9, Mr. Feek, do you want to go ahead and address that one?
Yes, I'll provide just a brief overview of item CC9. Also, the reason it was pulled is there was a public comment submitted to the city. CC9 item is council's review and consideration of approval of a reimbursement agreement between the city of Monrovia and the Monrovia Unified School District. As the public is aware, there's been community discussions about repairs needed to the high school swimming pool. For several months, the city and the school district have discussed a collaborative effort where we could partner together to help restore the pool in its current condition while the school continues discussions about the future of the pool. The current need at the time right now is kids are currently being transported over to different locations to use the pool, certainly disrupting students, their lives, the parents who have to transport them. So the city had approached the school district with a solution where using available city funding, we could help fund a significant portion of the improvement cost. The district is currently underway with the construction, about $343,000 to make necessary repairs to reopen the pool and comply with the LA County Department of Public Health inspection notices that have been provided to the pool. The city is going to be providing a payment of $210,000 to help with the cost to repair the pool. These funds are primarily associated with removing all of the plaster in the existing pool, also restoring and repairing and installing new plaster throughout the pool to ensure there are no leaks in it. There are also some minor decking improvements around the perimeter of the pool, but ultimately the pool will be restored in its current condition. So for those who are wondering if we'll be, if there will be further excavation or making deeper lanes at this time, this is just to repair it in as-is condition, but that will not have leaks, so it can continue to be used, but also comply with LA County Department of Public Health. As part of the collaborative spirit, the school district has agreed to make available all 5 elementary school sites in non-school use hours, make those spaces available to the public. So we're still working through some of the signage and some of the rule requirements, but ultimately there are 5 school sites throughout the community which look very similar to neighborhood parks. And the school district will be opening these spaces during non-school use hours to make them available for the public to use. So they're not renting these out at this time. They certainly can under their rights to use their own property. But the city, we felt this was a very appropriate compromise where if we partner together and share resources, we could not only fix the pool, but also create more green space throughout the community at the elementary schools. The hours will be, are outlined in the staff report, but typically it's going to be after school and through dusk. And I think in the summertime when school's out, they'll be open, they'll be much more available. Open hours include nights, weekends, holidays. And this agreement will last through December 31st of 2030, which hopefully it's successful and we can continue the partnership beyond that. As council is also aware, the city and the school district will be meeting to discuss additional collaborative efforts between the two parties at an upcoming meeting. But that's my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Did we have an actual speaker?
Yes, we have a speaker card from Karen DeClue.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Shevlin, City Council members, Mr. Feek, and Monrovia. This was such a happy moment for me to be able to come here tonight, seeing this item on the agenda and knowing that things were happening. I've been here a lot over the last year, and I actually haven't been addressing the pool when I come here. I've known all along that the pool is kind of MUSD deal. And I've kind of focused my efforts here at the City of Monrovia on aquatics programming because that's kind of the deal here on the city side. I think it was above and beyond and amazing to actually step forward and help with the facility itself. That was great. It is a Band-Aid solution and it is not going to buy us another 40 years, which is how old this pool is. But it is going to buy us a few years of kids not having to be bused to Citrus College and Duarte. And hopefully, one thing I couldn't help but notice is that there was no provision for city use of the pool itself. It does seem like one of those green spaces that could be made available to the community during non-school time. I was really hoping to see that as part of the negotiation. I'm hoping that we'll see that as the next step, at least for next summer. We have a few months. Hopefully we can get swimming lessons back in and recreation swim and lap swim and all of that, at least during the summer months while we have that facility there. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about any future plans for a more appropriate aquatic facility that our city really deserves, something where we can provide hopefully year-round, but at least a really robust summer aquatics recreation program that is the kind of thing that Monrovians have always expected and we deserve going forward. Thank you so much for making this happen. I'm just going to say it. Y'all made it happen, so thank you.
Thank you. Dylan, can you confirm the comment relating to the usage?
Sure. I will just speak to this agreement specifically outlines the reimbursement provisions. And the reason we tied the open space to it was for the city to come out and help fund a significant portion of the cost. The district is really providing some of those additional items that they just chose to do. We felt like it was appropriate to ask for, could there be a benefit more broadly for the city using our resources? Historically, we had a separate agreement, which was a shared use agreement. And that governed how we were going to share the pool. And we fully expect to be discussing that in the new year. How it works, who provides what. There's been different variations of how the city has provided those services. The district is very open to it. They want us to be using it when they're not using it, but we just have to work through those discussions. And we've really told them right now, just get the construction out of the way, get it open, get it used. We'll deal with the other stuff later. So that'll be coming here soon.
That's really great news. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we need a motion on this item if there aren't any other questions or comments.
I'll move to approve CC 9.
Second.
Okay, we have a second and a third. Without any further discussion or objection, so approved. Okay, we are moving on then to public input, and this is we invite you to come to our meetings, and we love to hear from you. And during this portion, it is for items not on our agenda. And so, City Clerk, do we have any? We do have some speaker cards. She'll call you up, and you are allowed 3 minutes to address the City Council.
Beginning with Sherry Lochner.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherry Lochner, and I'm a resident of Monrovia, as is my mother, and I grew up here in Monrovia and Duarte. I am here this evening to advocate for day laborers and other people who are immigrants targeted by ICE. As you would be well aware, ICE is continuing with their fascist, unlawful practices of detaining and kidnapping people throughout our country. My colleagues and I have reinstalled the memorial for Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez and the 24 other people who have lost their lives several times, and we will continue to do this practice as long as needed. We want to see a permanent memorial for Carlos to commemorate his life and acknowledge his death as a result of the brutal, unjust tactics of ICE. I am here to urge the City Council to dedicate time and resources to make the memorial happen. I stand here this evening because I and my colleagues refuse to allow the government to sweep the deaths of undocumented people under the carpet. They are husbands, fathers, brothers, wives, sisters, mothers, friends, and our neighbors. The Monrovia City Council's silence on Carlo Roberto Montoya Valdez's death is deafening. My questions for the City Council this evening are, as always, 1. What progress has been made on securing the report investigating the circumstances resulting in Carlos's death? 2. How can my colleagues work with the City Council to secure an appropriate site for the erection of a permanent memorial for Carlos and the other people who have died as a result of ICE actions? Will the City Council commit space and resources for this memorial? And 4, when is the City Council going to stand up to the authoritarian actions of this federal government and denounce the ICE raids and secure justice for Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez? As Mahatma Gandhi said, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. I stand for justice. I stand for compassion. Where do you stand? Yo soy Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez.
Next is Martha Mack.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Martha Mack. I would like to start with a quote from Leviticus 19:33 to 34. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as native-born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. These are the 25 names of the people who have died in ICE detention or as a direct result of an ICE raid. Ismael Ayala Uribe, Oscar Duarte Rascon, Lorenzo Antonio Batres Vargas, Chaofeng Gay, Tien Xuan Fan, Isidro Perez, Johnny Noviejo, Jesus Molina Vella, Abelardo Avellenda Delgado, Marie Angie Blaze, Nonwaku Nguyen, Brian Rayo Garzon, Maxim Chernak, Sarawit Gezahin Dehene, Henry Ruiz Guyen, Ramesh Amakchand, Pankaj Karan Singh Kataria, Jose Manuel Sanchez Castro, Santos Reyese Banegas, Gabriel Garcia Aviles, Jose Castro Riviera, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, Jaime Alanis Garcia, Francisco Gaspar Cristobal Andres, Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Chavez Harris.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Chavez Harris. I am a resident of Monrovia for 4 years, and I really love the city. I love the community. I feel very welcome and comfortable here. But I'm facing an issue. I have an LLC business, a home-based business. I have a box truck business. For the type of truck the size truck that I have, there's no parking for commercial sized trucks in the community. So I found a location where there's commercial warehouses and businesses that conduct business. West Maple Avenue and South Alta Vista Street, next to the living spaces. I live 7 blocks from there. Where I live at on my street, my truck is too large for me to park. So I park my truck next to the living spaces off of Maple and Alta Vista. In that particular area, there's no parking allowed for any trucks over 3 tons, over 7 tons. My truck is 7.25 tons. There's no parking for, no parking storages within the local area. So I have no choice but to park in that particular area where there are industrial, commercial businesses. For some reason, I get parking tickets from parking there because my truck is oversized. However, there are trucks that park in that same area that have the same weight as my trucks have, and they don't get parking tickets. There's a tree trimming place across the street from Living Spaces. They have the same size weight that I have, 26,000 pound maximum capacity. The same sticker that's on the side of my truck is the same sticker that's on the side of their truck. And I even park my truck next to their truck just to see what PD will do. And I get the tickets, but they don't. I don't understand how is it that PD can look at my truck and give my truck a ticket, but the tree trimming place don't get a ticket. I've been to the police department and talked to the police department about this issue, and they want me to fill out a special parking permit, but I'm not clear about it, but I kind of think what they were saying is that they can only give me a permit if I park my truck next to my business of location, which is my resident. So I can't park my truck on Linwood. I live at 434 Linwood Avenue. So there's no way.
I think we're at 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay.
Okay.
I think I understand what your situation is, and I don't know if this evening, if there's anyone available that could talk further with them out of the room.
What I might just request is maybe Greg, since I just can see you in the back, or actually Sarah Covarrubias. We have Captain Sarah Covarrubias with the police department. She's actually outside the doors. So Mr. Harris, if you wouldn't mind just getting your contact information to her, applicable addresses, we'll certainly follow up afterward.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you
look
for
into it.
listening. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I enjoy living here in Monroe.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, don't move.
Mr. Nelson?
Good evening.
Happy holidays. Always love the sweaters and the decorations. Awesomeness here in Monrovia. I'd like to categorically denounce any and all political violence and corruption, both big and small, emphasis on small. Speaking of which, regarding the charity community media The Foothills, KGM TV studio, and the city of Monrovia in general, may wisdom guide us on our path. Since I was young, I've often pondered how much poison needs to, I often wonder and ponder how much poison needs to be in a glass of water to consider the water is poisoned. Half full, maybe? A drop? Apparently, it depends on the type of poison and how much of it can be tolerated before even life-giving water becomes life-taking. So the question, how much apparent corruption at KGM TV studio by the current leadership does there need to be before the city becomes corrupt for supporting it? How much? A little bit? A lot? Or how much corruption is in the city that begets more corruption in a city-funded organization given hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars without requiring a forensic analysis for fraud and embezzlement? The little procedural audit the city asked for doesn't do that. It even claims right at the top of the audit it's not to be used for that at all. So nothing's been done to actually look and see what's happened. Again, I have over 100 points of interest pointing towards corruption regarding community media, the Foothills Charity, KGM TV studio, and the city of Monrovia in general. We will be exploring these questions and answers in the new year. So 2026 is going to be very, very informative. I'm making these public comments so both the council and citizens can make informed decisions when they cast their votes. I like what journalist Steve Bannon says about those denying corruption in plain sight and that it does not exist. Quote, they appear determined to keep playing make-believe, hoping the repetition of nonsense will bully reality into submission. For more information from the executive committee, who has been legitimately investigating financial mismanagement at KGM-TV Studio for over 2 years, please email cmfboardmonrovia@gmail. That's cmfboardmonrovia@gmail. Hopefully everybody knows how to spell Monrovia. Again, it's cmfboardmonrovia@gmail if you want more information from the people who've been investigating this and have unbelievable amounts of proof, okay? Thank you for your consideration. And again, happy holidays. Always love the sweaters and the decorations around town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no other speaker cards, Mayor.
Anyone else wanting to address the council this evening on matters not on the agenda? Not seeing any, then we will close our public input portion, and we are moving on to public hearing meetings. And we have, first up, we have PH1 Historic Landmark, HL-171, and Mills Act contract, MA 159, for property located at 218 East Greystone Avenue, et cetera, et cetera. So Vincent, please.
Thank you, Mayor Shevlin and members of the City Council. Yes, as you mentioned, this is a request for a historic landmark application and a Mills Act contract by the property owners Dominic and Kathleen Bianco. So the subject site, it's located north of Foothill Boulevard at the southwest corner of Greystone and May Avenue intersection. You can see it's developed with a single-family home with an attached garage. And here in this picture, it shows that it's a two-story home designed in the Spanish colonial revival architectural style. It was designed by the architect Robert M. Finlayson and built in 1930. So the home has several character-defining features found on Spanish colonial revival architecture, including multi-pane metal frame windows, a prominent entry centered at the front elevation with decorative relief. It also features brick and tile accents and terracotta tile roofing, as well as intricate ironwork seen on the balcony right here. As you can see in the photos, the footprint of the home has remained relatively unchanged since the original construction. Many of the key features of the home on the front and side elevations remain intact. The two leading changes that have occurred to the home were a texture paint coating that was added to the exterior and rear patio enclosures to the rear of the home. Within the last few years, a coated texture painting was applied to the exterior stucco, covering the original smooth troweled finish stucco siding. And here in the photos, the other change made to the home was the enclosure of the rear patio and sleeping porches that were original to the home. These are both on the first and second floors. As you can see in the photos, at some point in time, the original open patio and porch openings were enclosed with windows, doors, and wall panels to create additional living space for the home. Using the Monrovia Historic Context Statement, staff and the Historic Preservation Commission determined that the home is eligible for landmark designation due to its high quality of design and retention of Spanish colonial character-defining features. Although the stucco texture and the paint enclosures are non-original, it still maintains most of the character-defining features found on the home, including the asymmetrical facade, a low-pitched gable roof lines, coved wood bracketed eaves, wrought iron detailing that's normally found on Spanish colonial architecture. The applicant is requesting a Mills Act contract in order to restore the home back to its 1930s charm. So some of the key improvement items that are included in the Mills Act conditions are weatherproofing and restoration of the original windows and doors, maintenance of the exterior as needed, replacing the patio and porch enclosures with period-appropriate windows and doors in the rear, and restoration of the exterior stucco to the original smooth hand-troweled finish. So with that, staff and the Historic Preservation Commission are recommending approval of the historic landmark number 171 with a Mills Act contract. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Gillespie? Not hearing any. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing and ask, is there anyone wanting to address this either for or against this matter? Yes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dominic Bianco, and I'm the proud owner with my wife Kathleen of 218 East Greystone. And I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity of being able to participate in a historical renovation and the assistance that I've had from community development and from the historical committee. It's been a wonderful experience, and we hope to be able to continue improving the home. We moved to Monrovia only 8 years ago, and still have the first house that we own on Norumbega. My son is now living there. We're hoping to call this our home forever and continue to improve it and make it a beautiful addition to the historical context of Monrovia, which is just wonderful. This has given me community at May and Greystone that I never had before. And even, it's just been wonderful. In my retirement days, it's been a wonderful experience to be living in this location. We bought the home at the end of '23. We did a lot of construction on it to get it to be inhabitable on the inside. And it had good bones, and we've been able to restore it and continue to restore it. So just thank you very much, and appreciate that.
Nice to meet you. Glad to have you. Anyone else wanting to speak on this matter? Okay, not seeing anyone, then we'll come back to the council. We'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. And if there are no questions, comments, great report, Vincent. And do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-56.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Council members Belden?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly?
Yes.
And Mayor Shevlin?
Yes. And congratulations. Okay, we are moving right along then to PH2. Oops, I've got to go back to my PH2 Historic Landmark HL-170 and Mills Act Contract MA 158 for property located at 130 North Encinitas Avenue by property owners Kurt and Sonia Bougainville. And yes.
Thank you, Mayor Shevlin. Good evening, council members. The request before you this evening is for historic landmark and Mills Act contract for the property at 130 North Encinitas Avenue. And as Mayor Shevlin stated, the applicants are Kurt and Sonia Bougainville. So the subject site is located at 130 North Encinitas Avenue. This is on the east side of North Encinitas. This is just north of Foothill Boulevard between Foothill and Cedar Avenue. And the property is actually located in the North Encinitas Historic District, which spans between the 100 and the 200 block of North Encinitas Avenue. This is the second historic district in the city, the other being Wild Rose. And it was adopted by City Council on March 22nd of 2017. And it was included in the city's historic context statement. Now, the district is significant because it represents a cohesive neighborhood of working-class housing during early Monrovia development, specifically during the late 1800s and the early 1900s. The subject property is located at the beginning, or the south end, as you can see highlighted in red, of the district near Foothill Boulevard. And it's listed as a contributor to this historic district because it represents the early development pattern in Monrovia during the early 20th century, and it remains largely intact. And because of its contributing status, actually the home is already automatically qualified for a Mills Act contract. The home itself is a transitional craftsman. It was built in 1906. Unfortunately, the architect or builder is unknown, but as I stated, it is part of the historic contract, and North Encinitas Historic District. Some of its character-defining features you can see moving from the top of the image to below. You have the centered hip dormer with a 6-diamond pane window that's flanked by louvered vents. We have the hipped roof with exposed rafter tails. It has clapboard siding that is divided by a course belt with very engaged siding. And it has a multitude of multi-pane windows. They're kind of hidden behind the tree, which I'll show here in the next slide. And then you can see that is off-centered steps flanked by river rock retaining walls and use of river rock on a further retaining wall at the bottom of the image, which encircles the front yard. And as we kind of move some of the other key items in terms of the character defining features of the home, this is behind that tree, as I mentioned. You can see the 5/1 diamond pane windows there and the small multi-pane diamond pane window. As we move around, you can see that the L-shaped porch is supported by square wooden posts with the broad eaves. And when preparing the DPR form, staff did refer to the historic context statement, specifically the residential development theme, which is the arts and crafts movement, specifically the single-family residential sub-theme. And this the staff and the Historic Preservation Commission agree that the house meets designation of criteria number 4, given that the transitional craftsman has retained the essential aspects of integrity and most of its character-defining features, as I shown. Specifically, it has 1-story Victorian-style massing, the clapboard exterior, the hip roof with exposed rafter tails, the large porch with the square posts, and the multi-pane windows over a single pane. In addition to the landmark request, the applicants are also proposing a Mills Act contract. As I previously stated, this is they already automatically qualify for Mills Act contract because they're a contributor to the historic district. And it includes standard conditions of approval, mostly seismic retrofit, an electrical safety inspection, and the coveted landmark plaque, which they all love. It's a very beautiful plaque. In addition, they're proposing some additional standard conditions of approval, specifically that the exterior window screens be replaced. So what's a little neat feature is all of the windows have these little hooks, these metal hooks on the edge, the outside of each window, where you would place and hook the original screens on. So they want to replace all of them on the house. In addition to that, they're going to regrout the river rock at the front steps and the front yard retaining wall. The asphalt driveway is significantly broken, needs to be repaired with new concrete or an approved alternative. Copper gutter installation needs to be installed around the entire house. Attic vents need to be replaced. A lot of them are broken. And then, as needed, deteriorated exterior clapboard siding needs to be repaired, as well as the seismic retrofit needs to be completed as well. And with that, it does conclude my presentation. Both staff and the Historic Preservation Commission recommend approval to designate the property at 130 North Encinitas Avenue as Historic Landmark number 170 with the Mills Act contract number 158. And Sonia is here as well as myself if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Arnold? Okay, this is another public hearing, and I will open the public hearing at this time and ask if there's anyone wanting to address the council at this time on this matter. Sonia, you want to?
You don't want me talking. I can talk, but thank you. It's our
Okay.
dream house, and we can't believe we live here, so.
Then anyone else wanting to speak on this matter? Not seeing or hearing anyone, then I will close the public hearing and come back to the city council. And unless there's a question or a comment, great report, Austin, and I love your sweater. Not ugly at all.
Sorry.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-57.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Councilmembers Belden,
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Spicer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mayor Shevlin.
Yes. And thank you very much for the report.
Thank you. I'll get an uglier sweater next year.
Okay. Congratulations, Sonia. Okay. Moving on then to, too many things in this binder. Report of city manager and staff, RCM1, city council directives, updates from our city manager.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The only updates I'd like to provide at this time are questions were raised earlier about the city's efforts to try to gather information on the death of Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez. As I've stated multiple times at each council meeting opportunity, the city has made the request from the governor and the state attorney general. We've requested information and a thorough investigation. Whether we receive any information from California Highway Patrol, which is conducting the investigation, is yet to be seen. I think it's quite unlikely. I think the governor's office has reached out to us directly and made that very clear. On this circumstance, it's probably unlikely, at least anytime soon. So we'll continue to reach out and try, but we just want to make it clear to the public that we are doing what we can. But in matters like this, whether they share information with the city, we're very limited in what we can do. The other item that I would just like to restate again is comments were made earlier about corruption, specifically related to the city's contract with Community Media of the Foothills. I would just like to point out again that when concerns and complaints were raised in early 2024, the city promptly took the information. We investigated. We used the city's independent auditor to review the financial records of the nonprofit, which does receive, at the time, approximately $190,000 a year for services rendered to the city of Monrovia. We found at that time that while there were some corrections that we suggested to Community of the Foothills, we did not find, the independent auditor did not find that there was corruption or abuse. It was more a matter of, it's a small nonprofit that just needs to correct a couple items. They pointed out what those were. We held multiple meetings with Media of the Foothills. And I just, while people can come and speak to their concerns here at the council dais, so we just want to make sure that the listening public is getting correct information. If anyone has any additional questions on a matter of public funding, how we use those funds, how we care for and promptly review how our partners are using those funds, they're more than welcome to reach out to me anytime. That concludes my report this evening.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Feek? All right, then we are moving on then to our reports of city council members, and I will start with Mr. Belden.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. One thing we had the pleasure of a new agreement with the school district, and I just want to say I think it's an outstanding first step, but I think even Dylan, you mentioned it's a first step, and it's a chance to really build and strengthen our bond and our working relationship with our school district. And there's some great examples out there already. Many other communities, even La Cañada, have some new efforts together to make sure that their city and school district are working together a lot and collaborating. So I think it's a great first step, and I hope we're going to be doing a lot more of that. It is the holiday season, so it's been great to see so many folks here on the dais at so many events and so many community members at so many different events as well. I hope everyone has a great holiday season, and best wishes to all of you. One thing I'll just point out, we mentioned it during one of the Mills Act contracts, the first one, and I just, maybe even on the second one it was there too, and I just maybe missed it, but you could see that wonderful house, the Spanish Revival house. And there was a picture, the old picture, and it had the old oak tree there. And the new picture still has that oak tree there. So it's kind of great to see, not only is the house surviving, but the landscape and those old heritage oaks are still there and carry almost some of the same significance sometimes as the house itself. And I think, is it going to come out later? Well, no, I guess I'll mention just now as well. I know a few of my other colleagues, we have some League of Cities committees that we're going to be working on, and I'll be working again with the Environmental Quality Committee. So that's it for me. Thank you. Happy holidays to y'all.
Thank you. And I'm going to go to Dr. Kelly.
Yay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be able to work with the Housing and Community Development Committee via the Cal Cities. I was appointed to that again, and I'm excited to be able to do the work. I'm really also looking forward to working with the committee for the Olympics and being able to come back with some great updates concerning that in the new year. I wanted to remind Monrovia that during this holiday season to support local business, We have wonderful businesses in the city. We have wonderful restaurants in the city. And to just give you a greater incentive, if you shop in Old Town and you spend $25, you can be eligible for a free not hayride. I was about to say a hayride, not a hayride, but indeed a sleigh ride.
Carriage ride.
On Sunday, December the 14th, or December the 21st, from 3 to 6 p.m. The rides are normally $5 per person. And so we want to encourage you to take a ride, even if you don't shop in Old Town. I wanted to make mention of the wonderful event that I was able to go to for the Kiwanis sponsoring Citrus Singers. Wow. I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to listen or experience the Citrus College singers, but they are A1, top notch. It was an excellent presentation. So if you get an opportunity, if you get anything in the mail, or if you want to go to the Citrus College website and just kind of find out where they're going to be, it's definitely worth that. And congratulations to Kiwanis for putting on such an amazing event. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During this time of year, we've come to expect all the wonderful events that volunteer organizations and individuals given Monrovia of their time and their effort. And I want to point out that the Monrovia Police Officers Association, along with Detail Union, the Foothill Unity Center, DTM Auto Body, and numerous volunteers held a toy drive at Detail Union. Yes, Monrovia police officers were there, they were represented there. Not only did they have classic muscle cars and Porsches and Ferraris, but Santa's sled used to visit Monrovia's residences was on hand as well. And they collected a huge number of toys for local youth. So thank you so much to them for what they're doing in our community. I also wanted to point out that we had a luncheon for the trail crew volunteers for our wilderness preserve at Max's. These are people that, again, they volunteer their time to make sure that our trails are passable, especially in wintertime and in spring. And a lot of them are retired. They're retired people. They give freely of their time, and just the opportunity to express the thank you, the gratitude to them by taking them to lunch is something that the city of Monrovia does. And I want to thank Eugene for organizing those efforts as well. And of course, I wanted to comment on the Christmas parade. Every year, the Monrovia Christmas parade gets bigger and better with the larger and larger number of participants and people lining the parade. I want to congratulate all the winning entries and everybody that participated and came out. It's not just Monrovians, it's people throughout the San Gabriel Valley that help us celebrate the holidays. And finally, I just wanted to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday, and Feliz Navidad. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. And Mr. Spicer.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just a brief update from Community Service. The winter class schedule is now available and open for registration. Check out the Monrovia Today on the city website, or you can pick up a copy at the community center. Classes start January the 5th. There are many options available to meet your recreational needs. And I wrote a little something for the staff. To the City of Monrovia staff, thank you, thank you, thank you for an amazing year. I know we, the council, often ask for a lot, but your steady support, no matter what the challenge is what keeps this city moving forward. Your dedication is the heartbeat of Monrovia, and I am grateful. And to the citizens of Monrovia, thank you for an amazing year. Your support, your patience, and commitment to one another make this city shine. We know the council often asks for a lot, but your willingness to stand together and keep believing in Monrovia is what keeps Monrovia moving forward. You are the reason this community is strong, and I am proud to serve you. Also, I would like to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday. God bless you.
Well,
Hallelujah.
thank you, Larry. Very, very well put. Yes, we couldn't do it without our fantastic staff. And so thank you, thank you, thank you, big thank you. And we will have the opportunity this Thursday. There's the staff holiday luncheon will occur, and we'll be able to give you a bunch of a bunch more. Thank you very much, Larry. That was very, very nice. And the parade, yes, that's every year. I think I hear comments. That's the biggest parade I've ever seen. And how many did we have and actually participate in the parade? 2,500. Huge, huge. And with all those participants come friends and parents and kids and everything else. So it was great, and I was blessed to be able to ride my bike another year. You know, I can still balance on a bicycle, so that's always fun. And I didn't crash into anybody, and I didn't fall down either. So that's always that's good too. And talking about toy drives, the Monrovia Guild for Children's Hospital Los Angeles, they also had a toy drive at Tired Iron on December 5th and raised lots of money and collected lots of toys for the kids at Children's Hospital. On a definitely not holiday related, Foothill Transit. It's very unfortunate they lost the funding for the hydrogen fuel cell grant for buses, and so we did have an order. We were ordering some fuel cell buses, but we had to cancel that order, and in its place, still CNG buses aren't, they're good, but for the price tag, we had to go with the CNG buses, but we're not giving up on the hydrogen fuel cell. We still have one of the largest fleets, I think, I want to say in the country. And those will continue to operate. They're beautiful buses. The cost of the hydrogen hasn't dropped as much as we had hoped, but hopefully in the future that funding will come back. We'll be able to pick up where we left off on our fuel cell bus program. And then through my LA County Executive Committee Regional Homeless Alignment. It's so hard to remember that acronym. It's called ECRA. This last Friday, we made our recommendations to the Board of Supervisors regarding the spending plan for Measure A. I won't bore you with all the details. If anyone wants to talk to me about that, I'll be more than happy to fill you in. It is a very technical conversation and very layered. The funding is all a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. And but the spending plan that the ECRA oversees is the 63, 64-ish percentage of the Measure A. That goes to the county, and then the other, well, currently 35.75% goes to La Casa, which is essentially a housing trust, and it's distributed on that side. Last meeting, I told you I was going to go visit Men's Central Jail, which I did. We had a 2-hour tour. It was very educational. That building is very old, very decrepit, and does need to be replaced. But if anyone is interested and they want to go on a tour, I've been told that to let them know. Now, I'm not going to take you, but there are others that will accommodate you if you would really like to visit Men's Central Jail. And SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, their economic outlook is out, and you mentioned, Dr. Kelly, you mentioned the Olympics, and as a part of their economic outlook, they have made some, not recommendations, but their expectations of what the economic outlook will be with the Olympics and also the FIFA, the World Cup coming and whatnot. They sound a little overly optimistic to me, but you never know. But at any rate, that is available online on the SCAG website, but I know that Mr. Feek has also sent it around, at least I believe you did, Mr. Feek. You sent it to the rest of the council members. Let me see. And obviously, we're talking about all the great events. The other one, a Festival of Trees for the Boys and Girls Club. They raised lots of money. That was an awesome event. And Larry and I got to help serve a lunch to the seniors the other day that was the New Horizons Club, wasn't it? Yes. And so that was a lot of fun to serve the seniors. And the gadabouts, right? And last night, KGM had an open house, and it was very nice, very well attended. They made some changes in just moving some furniture around and really spruced the place up. So it's really nice. And with that, and I would like to, again, reiterate what Larry said. I think that's a sentiment that we all express a great thanks to our staff and to our community. And we love working with you. And there's so many people, we say this is the greatest time of the year, but for so many, it's very, very, very painful and very sad. And there's a lot of hurt going on in the world. So our hearts and prayers go out to those who are suffering, lost their lives, and or just don't have the wherewithal to have that greatest time of the year. Don't mean to be total downer here, but do need to recognize those that don't have as much as we experience here in Monrovia. It's really a blessing that we have each other. So at any rate, with that, then
I have one, something I forgot to mention.
Okay.
I was appointed as the League of California Cities, one of their representatives for Transportation, Communication, and Public Works Policy Committee.
And congratulations, and I
And
know
I thank you,
Tamala
Mayor.
mentioned, and I think, Edward, you said that you're on the environmental?
Yes.
All right, great work, guys. We make a good team. I always do that when something's written under my report. I report on everything else but the one that's written on the agenda. Okay. Well, and also coming up, don't forget, we have New Year's Eve and Library Park. That is a great event for all the kids. What time does that start at? No, that's when they do the 10 a.m. 10 a.m. at Library Park, and then at noon, then we do the countdown for New Year's Eve, and then in the evening, we will have our New Year's Eve event in Old Town. So, and Happy New Year too. And 2026 is going to be a good year. Okay, moving right along then to, we have administrative reports. We will start with AR1, repeal of past city council resolution numbers 1638 and 1693, expressing the Monrovia City Council support for the unjust treatment and incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II, resolution number 2025-70. And Mr. Feek will be presenting this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item before you this evening is a little unique. I don't recall a time in my career where we've gone back as far to look for resolutions with the intent of repealing them. But what's been interesting is over the course of the last few years, as we've developed Satoru Tsuneshi Park, we've sought out all kinds of ideas to really tell the story of the park and why it's important and why it matters. And I'd like to put Sarah Godinez on the spot because it was some time ago that she had shared that in doing some research in the city clerk's office, she found these resolutions which were really interesting. And when I thought, really interesting, I'd love to see what those were. And I was pretty surprised at actions taken by the Monrovia City Council back in the 1940s. And so I think it'd be important as a part of telling the story that we're trying to tell with the development of Satoru Tsuneshi Park to address a couple resolutions which were adopted years ago. And so I'll take you through the report. First, a little bit of history. The reason that we're here is beginning in 2021 when the city approved entitlements for the site where Satoru Tsuneshi Park is currently under construction. It's a little over 2 acres right next to the Chick-fil-A and Starbucks on West Huntington Drive. As a part of that development project, the property owner, the Dick Hale Corporation, dedicated about 8,600 square feet to the city to build a neighborhood park, one of our first parks south of the 210 freeway, but also is really important for it to be a community park. When council approved agreements with RHA Landscape Architects and Planners, we developed a park. We did some pretty robust public outreach to determine how are we going to name the park, how will it be designed. We solicited a lot of ideas and feedback from community members. And in 2024, council approved the naming of the park as Satoru Tsuneshi Park. For those who don't know, Mr. Tsuneshi was a notable Monrovian, first Japanese American to graduate from Monrovia Arcadia Doherty High School. The project's been under construction since early this year, and I'll talk here in a few minutes at the end of the presentation about the ribbon cutting date, which we've recently set. In addition to honoring Mr. Tsuneshi, it incorporates stories and features of him, of his family, and the park is not just an amazing place for families to congregate, for people to relax, for the neighbors to come and socialize as you would with any neighborhood park, but it really tells an amazing story of our community and our history. It features 2 beautiful new murals that tell the story of the Tsuneshi family. They do incorporate Route 66. They include the blue star banners, which feature 4 of Mr. Tsuneshi's sons who all served in World War II. Then there's also haiku poetry honoring Mr. Tsuneshi. The design has been inspired, driven by this broader community outreach, feedback, and input over time. Before I speak about the resolution, what is important to note with the Tsuneshi family is while he was living here in Monrovia and while he was operating his businesses, much like many were, he was sent to an internment camp at what's called Heart Mountain, which is in Wyoming. Eventually, when the war ended and he was relocated to Monrovia, he had to rebuild with his family here in Monrovia, but this was home for him. And he remained here in the area throughout the remainder of his life. And several of his family members, including grandchildren, have actually been involved in helping design and approve the concepts for the park. But Mr. Tsuneshi and his family were subject to actions taken during a wartime era. So as everyone knows, as the community knows, in the early part of and middle part of the 20th century, Japanese Americans had started settling in Monrovia and made this their home. They cultivated strawberry farms, grocery stores, and fruit stands throughout the community, and they worked to make Monrovia what it is. But at the start of World War II, there was a lot of racism and hysteria around the Japanese Americans in our communities, particularly on the West Coast. At the time, the Monrovia City Council adopted what we're referring to as 2 unjust resolutions aimed at keeping Japanese Americans away from the Pacific West Coast. And I'm going to talk about those resolutions here in a minute. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. This order is what authorized the forced removal of all those Japanese Americans who were considered to be a national security threat from West Coast areas to relocation centers further inland. It was under this executive order that more than 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry were incarcerated in 10 concentration camps in the World War II era. There were many Japanese Monrovian and Monrovian families who were part of this. On February 2nd, 1942, the Monrovia City Council adopted resolution number 1638. I've included the information here, and while it's hard to read, I'd like to point out a few interesting kind of whereases that you can see throughout the resolution that I think are just important for our history and our storytelling. Second paragraph, bottom paragraph on the left side, whereas Japanese aliens are a potential source of danger to our security, it would be advisable for the federal government to transfer them from Pacific Coast areas and care for them at inland points where they could till the soil far removed from airfields, power lines, water reservoirs, water lines, and other strategic defense facilities. And whereas, the upper right, the hazard of these Japanese aliens near our defense points and public utility plants is evidenced by the fact that 80% of Japanese residents here retain their native Buddhist and Shinto religions, that the Shinto religion is that of the Emperor of Japan and includes worship of ancestors, and the belief that soldiers who die for Japan become spirits to be worshipped. And whereas the strong ties of religious belief are often so implanted in humans that they are prone to revert to original or native allegiance in periods of stress or emotion. And whereas in the event of an invasion of California by forces of Japan, the civil population of California would be unable to cope with the large Japanese population, which would constitute a potentially dangerous fifth column enemy. And whereas it is difficult, if not impossible, to distinguish between loyal and disloyal Japanese aliens, therefore be it resolved that immediate action be taken to transfer Japanese aliens from coastal points to inland areas for reasons explained herein. And this resolution was sent to federal representatives following. And it was adopted on the second day of February 1942. A short time later, resolution number 1693 was adopted by the Monrovia City Council on June 21st, 1943. And this will continue some of the same language found herein. But what I think is important to this one, and I'd like to point out the second page on this, it's the resolved further that the City Council hereby records its opposition to the return of any Japanese to the Pacific Court military areas and calls upon California senators and representatives in the Congress to actively and vigorously oppose any plan or movement seeking to accomplish that purpose until the Japanese aggressor unconditionally surrenders. These two resolutions, which we received assistance from the City Attorney's Office in preparing, are really important parts of the story as we prepare to open Satoru Seneishi Park. The family has shared with us materials that they have kept and hidden related to postings and signage placed around Monrovia back in the 1940s that their family had to read, that were very racially motivated, where they were made to feel very unwelcome. And as we prepare to break ground on our 9th public park in early 2026, we are doing our very best to tell the story of the Seneishi family and the many Japanese American families who have really made Monrovia the special place that it is. We are trying to dot the park with all the little indications that they were here, that they mattered, and that they made a difference in our community. We're very proud that the Seneishi family returned to Monrovia and rebuilt their lives here. We're very excited to share the story of the park with the public. I did not want to share too many photos because right now we're leaving the green screen up to shield the beautiful park from the public. We want it to be a lovely surprise. And as council is aware, and we'll share with the community in this week's update, we've set the ribbon cutting date for Tuesday, January 13th at 3 p.m. It's going to be a wonderful event. We will showcase the new murals. We'll showcase the new playground and all the different amenities and features. It's an ADA accessible playground. It's very welcome and conducive for all to come and recreate. And we look forward to celebrating this park dedication in the new year. Also of note is in the early portion of 2026, we should be complete with our latest Neighborhood Treasures art installation. The artwork is nearly complete for Kiyoshi Kiramiya, an early civil rights activist in Monrovia's history, who's also a Japanese American. And we will be honoring him and his legacy with an installation of a neighborhood art piece here very soon. So the actions before the City Council tonight are really a consideration to adopt resolution number 2025-70, which would repeal these earlier resolutions from World War II era. Certainly, you could ask for additional input or provide additional direction, but this action here today is much more symbolic and kind of coming full circle to those resolutions approved over 80 years ago. So I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have, but I appreciate your time, and that concludes my report.
Any questions of Mr. Feek? Great report, fascinating history, unfortunate history, sad history, and so happy that they did return to Monrovia and to rebuild their lives and made great contributions. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-70.
I just have some comments before,
Sure.
if you don't mind. But, I mean, I just wanted to say thanks to the staff for helping to bring this forward, and I hope we can keep looking if we have any of these kind of horrendous legacy ordinances that may have been passed at different times, and it just brings to my mind that, we all take action on a regular basis, but history in the U.S., it's complicated, it's complex sometimes, and we have a chance to look back at wrongs we made and we repair them. And I just, especially in these holiday times and also the times we are living in currently, just we should all maybe think a little bit more about that and how these actions that we currently are taking maybe look back at in a few years and what we might regret. Because, I mean, this is a pretty racist action that was taken by our city. It's pretty sad to have that, but I'm glad we're taking the step to fix it now. Thanks.
And it brings more meaning to the actual opening so that it's not performative, but it's a deeper meaning behind it, not only for city leaders, but for our community by bringing this forward, that there's meaning behind it and that this family really matters and what they've gone through. I mean, this is only a tip in the iceberg, but to be able to right that wrong is the best that we can and how we can show up. I think it's very important.
I'll second.
Yeah, and we have a motion and a second, and I was just going to say, they still have quite a few family members. I know that when we did the groundbreaking, they were in attendance, and I hope many of them can attend the ribbon cutting as well. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmembers Belden?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Shevlin?
Yes, and thank you very much for bringing this forward, and thank you for finding something in the archives. Yes. Okay, moving on to AR2 reimbursement agreement with Monrovia Historic Preservation Group in the amount of $20,000 to submit an application for Old Town Monrovia to be considered for the National Register of Historic Places. And Mr. Feek, you are up again.
Thank you. This will be my final report for the night. Thank you very much. As the mayor had read the title, that is the item before you. Kind of an exciting item to discuss. I'm going to walk council through a couple different items. First, I'm going to provide a little bit of an overview on the National Register of Historic Places. I will be very frank that I am not an expert on the program. The information that I have received has been received through Monrovia Historic Preservation Group and information they've provided through community meetings and just in help in preparation of this item. I'd also like to provide an update on the Historic Preservation Group's efforts to date to place Old Town Monrovia on the National Register of Historic Places. And then the actionable item for you tonight is your consideration of paying the cost, the $20,000 reimbursement for the nomination. So first question, what is the National Register of Historic Places? It's a program that's been around, program offered by the United States government since 1935. It's expanded several times over the years, particularly through the National Historic Preservation Act, which really aims to preserve and promote our nation's history, and there are over 100,000 listings on the National Register of Historic Places. So generally speaking, one of the key criteria is that listings have to be 50 years old. And these listings can be anything from a particular building or location. It can be a group of buildings. It can be a feature of a community. It can certainly be neighborhoods or old towns. You'll see a whole variety of listings within that 100,000 grouping. The program is administered by the National Park Service under the U.S. Department of the Interior. Currently, the city of Monrovia has 5 buildings that are listed on the National Register. Each one of these 5 buildings also has local landmarks associated with them, the Aztec Hotel, the Oaks, the Upton Sinclair House, as well as the Luther Blair House and the Broussard House, which are those 2 properties are within the proposed boundary of the historic district. So the question comes of why place downtown Monrovia or Old Town Monrovia on the National Register, and it really does a couple things, and we're going to talk in a minute about what it does do and what it does not do. But generally speaking, National Register status provides formal recognition of historical significance. In the case of Old Town Monrovia, our downtown has been the heart of the city since the city was founded. The program also provides preservation incentives, particularly federal preservation grants and tax credits, but there are also state grants and tax credits available. It becomes part of National Register archives. These are searchable databases of interest to preservationists across the community. While I did not speak specifically about Route 66, Monrovia already has a fascinating history where even things like Route 66 and the historic district could, certainly be compatible together. But ultimately, communities are encouraged to celebrate historic resources nationwide. We have such a variety in our country. The application that was prepared by by MOPEG has 120 elements to it, and I'm going to talk about the boundary here in just a moment. But generally, and much like our historic districts, there are contributing buildings and non-contributing buildings. There are also existing National Register listings proposed, the Luther Blair and the Broussard houses. There are structures which contribute, structures like the Rotary Bandshell, the Farmer's Fountain. Those both have historic local landmark status. The stone from the early City Hall facility on the library grounds, as well as the town clock. We have non-contributing structures like the library fountain. One day that could be a historic structure. But those are all identified as resources within the proposed boundary. The Centennial Marker, also the Mark Twain statue is even considered of historic significance. This map is the best rendition we could do to show the City Council where the proposed boundaries are. And when MOPEG hired a consultant, the Vicksburg Foundation, they don't just look at a geographic area. They also have to look at what properties, what resources could be included in a proposed area, which would help us receive the status that we're seeking. The Vicksburg Foundation, the partnership that MOPEG is working with, they've submitted 60 applications, and they've been successful on all 60 of them. So they were very intentional about selecting where the boundaries were. But generally speaking, the boundary to the north is going to be Palm Avenue, and that will include properties on the north side of Palm and the south side of Palm, and will exist from Primrose to Ivy. That will be the northern boundary line. The southern boundary is a little bit unique in that it doesn't go from Primrose to Ivy, but it includes a few buildings that are right at the intersection of Olive and Myrtle Avenue. And we've highlighted those buildings, which are basically their Myrtle Avenue frontage, and then a building just immediately to the east of Myrtle Avenue behind those buildings up front. It includes properties between Myrtle Avenue and Ivy Avenue, along all Lime, Lemon, and Colorado, both sides of the street. And then when you look west of Myrtle Avenue, so from Myrtle to Primrose on Lime, all properties are included. This would include the public library and the city's parking lot south of the library. When you look at Lemon, it only includes the properties that front Myrtle Avenue. And then when you look at Colorado Boulevard, it includes the properties that front Myrtle Avenue and a couple additional buildings immediately west on the southern side of Colorado. So it's not as clear to just say Primrose to Ivy and, Olive to Palm, but you can generally see the geographic area that was submitted by MOPEG. And that's the map to the left. The reason we're also showing the zoning map to the right, you can see the same properties, but the current zoning designations, is where the city could see potential impacts or concerns of just points of interest is the properties that are within the proposed boundary of the district are not all zoned the same. The historic commercial district are those properties in red, which are the properties that face Myrtle Avenue. Those properties are all in the historic commercial district. They're all subject to review by the Historic Preservation Commission. They also have certain design guidelines around them, which the Historic Preservation Commission also reviews. But if you look outside of the HCD and look at some of the plan districts, the PDs, the blue parcels, well, those are not reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. Those are reviewed by the Design Review Committee. In some cases, those properties are reviewed just by staff if it's a low-level multifamily residential. You have MOPEG MOTAB, the Old Town Advisory Board, has certain work that they do, which is right here in the middle and in the heart of the proposed district. But I think the point that I'm making here is you can see how from just a implementation of our zoning rules, we could have different review processes if the HCD properties are included, but also the PD properties or the city hall and the public library properties are included. So that's one thing that if granted the designation, the city will likely want to consider is how do we systematically and effectively proceed where we have kind of one review process or how many review processes for the properties that exist within the proposed district, if granted. I think it would be odd to say to properties along Myrtle Avenue, well, you have to go through HBC, but the historic landmark properties down off Lemon Avenue across the street from City Hall, well, you don't have to go to HBC. We may want to make some modifications or consider at a later point in time. What national listing status does do is it generally identifies, helps you market and promote those buildings, those structures, those sites, districts that are of historic value to the community, and in this case, even from a national perspective. It encourages preservation of these properties. It also helps and assists with preservation, such as enabling access to federal and state funding and grants. It does provide for review of federally funded license-sponsored projects. So I'll talk here in a minute about what it does not do, but property owners still get to choose whether they want to participate in federal and state programs or not. So it doesn't restrict you any more than your local zoning rules restrict you. So it doesn't create new burdens and hurdles, generally speaking. Now, if properties are included within a historic district, and they are contributors, and it could have some kind of impact on the district. It may create a new level of review from an administrative perspective, but it doesn't necessarily inhibit you from developing or using your property. There are certain rehabilitation requirements, particularly when it comes to accessing state and federal funds. Properties should generally be income producing on like a commercial property, so they want to see that these older historic structures are being put back into the economy. That's an important aspect of the program. And they do encourage rehabilitation of residential structures which meet certain preservation standards. What listings do not do is they do not restrict the rights of private property owners to use, to develop, to sell their historic properties. The local zoning rules and laws continue to apply. So, National Register status does not lead to automatic changes to zoning. If we were to decide, maybe we want to include new parcels in the historic commercial district, or we want to change the zoning designation to kind of reflect the National Register status, we would have to adopt new zoning changes to do that. It doesn't force federal, state, or local projects to be stopped. It doesn't provide for a review of state, local, privately funded projects which affect historic properties. It doesn't guarantee that grant funds are available for anything. And it does not provide that tax credits, federal tax credits to owners of residential historic properties unless they are rental, treated as income producing. So there's a lot of strings attached. Even if a property owner wants to participate in a federal program or a state program even, they still have to go through all those requirements that the federal government or state government may lay out. I'm sorry, I apologize because I just went through all of these and I had them on my device in front of me, but I did not have them up there. I just went over this list of what it does not do, it does do, and what it does not do. And my apologies for skipping ahead. So at this point, what we're presenting to City Council, the Historic Preservation Group has done the vast majority of all the legwork up until this point. They've incurred thus far $12,000 to do the actual study and to draft the kind of the findings that they are currently working on a report to submit to the National Park Service. First, it will actually go to the State Historic Preservation Office. They'll review and determine that it complies with their rules and guidelines, and then they will refer it to the federal government for review and consideration. But ultimately, if the project is approved, the cost to finalize all the application materials is $20,000. And the city has been very supportive of historic preservation efforts. And this was an item I wanted to bring to City Council's consideration, is do we want to be a partner and consider funding the remaining cost to submit the application to the National Park Service for Old Town Monrovia to be considered on the National Register of Historic Places. Certainly, council can decide not to do this, but the item before you is the option to do so. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. That
Any
concludes my report.
questions of Mr. Feek? No questions? I did want to ask, is there anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment on this item? Okay, not seeing any, no discussion. Yes, Edward.
The boundary that you showed, was that one that the group them or the consultant team put together? Or is that something that was, I'm just curious because of it not making a big square versus kind of isolating some areas out?
Correct. The city, we were not involved in any way in the perimeter or the boundary of the map. There was a lot of thought and information that went into why this area. Some of the areas that were excluded have seen much more development over the years. But they specifically selected this area based on the consultant's feedback that this area would be the best chance to get them on the National Register. Perhaps one thing I could add is we had just finalized these maps this week, but one of the things that we will be able to follow up in the months to come is there's also many historic landmarks in and around the area that are not within the proposed boundary. So for example, you have the old City Hall Annex right here across the street on Lime. You have the Anderson House, which on these same maps that you'd see, there are landmarks immediately around it. So what we'll kind of have a little fun doing is looking at taking a step back now that we have this information and what could that possibly mean for other areas of town? Because historically from, Alta Vista to Myrtle Avenue, for example, a lot of that was platted and a lot of these old homes, like that's also where people lived when they would walk to Old Town and come and participate in commerce and whatnot. So there's a lot of landmarks that are immediately surrounding the proposed boundary.
If there are no further questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve reimbursed, something jumped out there. Agreement with Monrovia Historic Preservation Group in the amount of $20,000 to submit application for Old Town Monrovia to be considered for the National Register of Historic Places, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents in a form approved by the city attorney.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Then why don't we do a roll call vote?
Council members Belton.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Spicer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mayor Shevlin.
Yes. Thank you very much. And then we are moving to AR3, Amendment to Title 15 of the Monrovia Municipal Code, repealing Chapter 15.04.010 and establishing a new Chapter 15.04.010 by adopting by reference and amending the 2025 edition of the California Building Code, Volumes 1 and 2, etc.
It's a long one.
And we have Greg Boagian. Did I do pretty good?
That was close.
Building and Safety Division Manager, Greg.
Okay, well, good evening, Mayor, council members. It is good to be back. I'm here, I think, up here once every 3 years. We have to update the codes every 3 years. So for today, I would like to introduce the California Building Code updates, also known as Ordinance 2025-14. Before we get into the code changes, I would like to give you kind of an overview of the building division's operations to kind of give you an idea of the services that the city provides. So the building division is organized into 3 functions. One being the counter services. So if you've ever come in to pull a permit, that's our permit counter. That can be one of your plans down there as well. And we issue all types of permits, building, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. We process plan check submittals. We calculate project valuation and fees. We process grading permits, and we route and circulate plans. The second function is inspections. And if you've pulled a permit, you've probably had an inspection. We schedule and perform field inspections, special housing inspections. We issue stop work orders if you're doing work without permits. And we issue red and yellow tags if there's been ever a disaster to a structure, like a fire or a flood. And we also assist other departments in building-related matters. The third function is plan check services. So with plan check, we review plans and calculations for code compliance. We review test reports and specifications. We provide technical assistance to the public and to design professionals. And we keep the building code up to date. And we also manage the city's plan review consultants. Now, with all that work, you're probably wondering, are we busy? So I want to just give you kind of 3 metrics to look at for this calendar year, 2025. And these are as of December 20th, since the year's not over. We have number of permits issued this year so far, over 1,500. Number of plan checks that we've completed, first check. Now, after one plan check has been checked, it can be checked several times after that. But the first check, over 400. And the number of inspections is over 17,000 inspections.
I have to ask you, in that prior picture, that
Yes.
that piece of furniture, how many sets of plans can that thing hold?
That's the max. I wouldn't, we have another area like that.
And those are all active.
Yes, so
Oh
that
my
that
goodness
is our
gracious.
that's a steel cabinet, and it is holding all the active plans that are in construction.
I was just gonna say.
They have tags on them. It's
Yeah, but you have to go
Yeah,
through
they're-
one by one.
yeah, they're in alphabetical order. So there's a tag next to it. It's a system that works when you do it every day. So, but any other input you have, I'm more than happy to hear it. Maybe add some color or something to it. But we can find them. It might take a little bit longer, but we do find them. Now,
The
yes.
the 447 is
Yes.
what's the majority of that?
Well, those are plan checks, and that can be any and all plan checks. And
Okay,
it's,
all levels.
Yeah, all structure, like it can be a structure, it can be mechanical, electrical, plumbing, any type of review that requires a plan check, that's in that number. So now, I want to get into the new building codes, and here's a picture of all of the volumes within the most current 2025 building codes that we're trying to adopt. One quick thing I wanted to do was kind of give a quick history lesson. Some of you might have heard this already, but a brief history lesson on building codes. So did you know that the earliest known building code can be found in the Code of Hammurabi, which is the sixth king of Babylon? And in there, in the Hammurabi Code of Law, number 229, it says, if a builder builds a house for someone and does not construct it properly, and the house which he built falls in and kills its owner, then that builder shall be put to death. So I just want to be clear, we're not adopting this section in this current code cycle. Now kind of fast forward to American law with the built environments. And there's a rapid evolution that has occurred from the mid-1800s, largely as a result of disasters. So that's where we kind of learn what works and doesn't work. And it was since the 1800s with the Chicago fire, the Great San Francisco earthquake, fast forward to the 1994 Northridge earthquake, and then, of course, the most recent this year, 2025 Eaton and Palisade fires. So with each disaster, we learned something new. For example, the Northridge introduced many seismic regulations to soft storage structures, and the recent Eaton and Palisade fires organized wildfire resiliency requirements into one document, which I'm going to touch on in a little bit. Here's another fun fact I want to kind of show you. So the book on the left is the Uniform Building Code of 1927,
right.
the very first building code. And this was the first uniform building code, and it was adopted by many local governments, and it established a uniform building code in California. Fast forward to today, what we are trying to adopt now is the 2025 building codes, which consist of the building code, residential code, energy code, mechanical, and so on. And these get updated every 3 years. And kind of give you a comparison of where we've come from, there's about 250 pages in the original building code. With the current code, with all the volumes, there's over 6,000 pages. So that kind of gives you a good picture of what we've learned and where we've come from.
Kind of like the rules of court. It used to be a little binder, now it's.
So the California codes are referenced as the building codes, all of those. And I'd like to go into the actual code adoption. So the new codes are required to be adopted. In the California Health and Safety Code, it requires that the latest California Building Standards Code apply to local construction 180 days after they become effective at the state level, which it did July 1st. So the California Building Standards Commission has adopted this 2025 edition of the California Code of Regulations into state law, which requires it to become effective at the local level starting January 1st of 2026. So therefore, Monrovia is adopting this with a small set of local amendments as our new Monrovia Building Code. Now, regarding local amendments, which is what I talked about, those are, per the California Health and Safety Code, it does permit us to adopt local amendments to amend the code with expressed findings for reasonable necessary reasons, such as local climate, geographical, topographical conditions that affect a certain jurisdiction. The intended purpose of proposed amendments is to minimize, prevent, and protect the community from natural hazards such as earthquakes, floods, and fires. And the second is to improve the health and welfare of the community through green and sustainable construction practices. Much emphasis and work has been put in this code cycle due to California's recent wildfire activity. Now, I want to mention Assembly Bill 130. This one's important. So normally the city can modify state codes to address local needs. However, Assembly Bill 130, effective June 30th of 2025, has placed a 6-year moratorium on local amendments that affect residential units. And Assembly Bill 130 was created as an effort to address California's housing shortage and high construction costs by freezing local amendments for the next 6 years. To get into the AB 130 a little bit more, the only local changes that it allows for housing units is one, that whatever amendments we have now match what is already in effect prior to September 30th of this year, and/or improve wildfire resistance. Because of this, Monrovia will continue to use the same local amendments that we had adopted the last code cycle 3 years ago that's in effect now, with some new fire code amendments. And these are allowed under AB 130 because they have already been in place prior to the moratorium, and the new fire code amendments do improve wildfire resistance. In this ordinance, staff is also proposing minor updates to the administrative code to help improve cross-referencing and maintaining a consistency with the 2025 codes. One thing I do want to highlight as a key change in this code cycle, kind of what's new. And the biggest change this year is the introduction of the 2025 California Wildland Urban Interface Code. So earlier slides I showed a volume of so many different code books, and this is one of them, and this is new. But what this is it pulls all of the new code pulls together wildfire resistance requirements that were previously scattered across multiple codes. So these requirements are already in the code, they were just scattered. And what this does is it consolidates it into one document. And this is a model code that ICC had produced, and California is not adding any major requirements. Instead, it's organizing into an existing rule, into one clear, easy-to-use document. And this is a major step in making wildfire-related standards more streamlined statewide. With this, I come to the end, and staff does recommend City Council approve ordinance number 2025-14. And this is the introduction, and if City Council concurs, the public hearing will be set for January 20th of 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Greg? Yes, Edward.
Yeah, a few, mostly actually on the item you addressed or brought up, and I still was a little confused because it sounds like, it sounds like AB 130 is trying to be cognizant of the problem we have right now with housing and allowing that to proceed. But it also sounds like we have some, well, maybe we don't, because the conversation mentioned about the wildland urban interface and the new housing organization of the, so are there not additional home hardening requirements in that new wildfire zone kind of? Yeah, tell me more about that one first, and then AB 130.
Sure. Let me go back to AB 130. So there are already up-to-date code related to fire resistance in construction within the current code. AB 130 is basically telling us to make sure that our local amendments don't affect housing unless it's to fire harden the home, which was one of the exceptions in there. And this new code does help to do that. It reorganizes it. But along with this, in our local amendments, so I go back, so what we're doing is we're taking the code and we're adding local amendments to it, which are fire code amendments and administrative amendments. So there are additional in the ordinance specific fire code changes that are being added into this code cycle that are local amendments for Monrovia that are for fire hardening, and that is happening.
Can you give me a few examples of what
So
those
when
might look like?
Yes. So
on the ground, like just, or when you're building, let's say.
Yeah. I can also defer to our fire chief who's here as well in terms of the specific fire code amendments. A few I can give that are within the urban wildfire interface, such as under eave enclosures to make sure that your attic vents are enclosed so that it is when there ever is embers and so forth, it doesn't go up into the attic and then you end up having a fire. Certain vents have a higher fire resistant rating in terms of the gauge of metal. The windows will have to be tempered in homes that are in the high fire zone. And anything else that is related to the fire amendment specifically, if fire chief wanted to add on those as well. But those are some that I gave that related to the construction of a structure.
You can you can also find those changes. Unfortunately, the ordinance page is not numbered, but it's in section part four of the ordinance. There are local changes related to defensible
Part
space
four, thank you.
Fuel modification, the defensible space distances. There's about 7 or 8 pages of the local changes in Part 4.
Because of AB 130, the first 3 parts are administrative changes. We're not going into technical details, but Part 4 are the fire changes from the fire department that are allowed under this bill, and you can see those there, Part 4 of the ordinance.
Thanks. I'll look a little bit more. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And yes, Dylan.
Would it be okay, could I invite Fire Chief Jeremy Sanchez to come up? One of the discussion items that has come up often has been what they call Zone 0 requirements.
Yeah.
And those are more of like a fire department implementation. Jeremy, could you speak a little bit to Zone 0 and what that means for us?
Yes, for sure. Good evening, Mayor Shevlin and Council. So during this code adoption, one of the things that comes up is Zone 0. So as we've heard much dialogue, discussion about Zone 0, and to this day, they're still making changes to what Zone 0 will actually be. What we've chosen to do is because the compliance will not be needed to be obtained until for 3 years from now, this adoption will not see any Zone 0 specific items. So when it comes to defensible space, we're not going to be enforcing that 0 to 5 feet because a lot of things are still changing. They're still making the amendments to make it fit everybody's needs. What we are going to do is educate the public so that when the time does come in 3 years, we're going to be enforcing at that point. And even to this moment now, there's still amendments that are being made that will allow trees and bushes up to 4 feet tall, or they're going to be in pots, or they're not going to be allowed in pots. Is mulch going to be allowed? Are fences allowed to be touching the actual, combustible fences allowed to be touching the buildings? So there's so many changes that are still going. So we found it more important to make sure that we exclude that for this go around. And then when we do the adoption in 3 years, we'll include all those requirements so that way we know we're adopting the right code and it fits our needs.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any questions? If not-
Sounds like we're still going to be able to use some native plants in those areas as well. I know that there's still concerns.
There right now,
there,
what
but-
I was reading through is they have a current public resource code that has 4 options in different vegetation, fuel modification, defensible space requirements. So there's option 1 through 4, and the discussion is still going on about which ones they're gonna adopt. As you guys know, there's much public comment on it.
Yes.
To make sure that we are allowed to do what's smart, not just paint it with one brush. So.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to recommend, introduce, waive further reading, and read by title only, ordinance number 2025-14,
And
set for public hearing on January the 20th, 2026.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Can I please have a roll call vote?
Council members Belden?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly?
Yes.
And Mayor Shevlin?
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
was thinking about thanking him and instead of saying, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mayor, it's that magical time of the year that I get to read the title to this monster. So if y'all want to get a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
while
Be
we're
right
doing
back.
this. It's ordinance number 2025-14, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Monrovia, California, amending Title 15 of the Monrovia Municipal Code, adopting by reference the 2025 edition of the California Building Standards Code, known as the California Code of Regulations Title 24, which includes the 2025 California Building Codes, Volumes 1 and 2, Part 2 of Title 24, the 2025 California Historical Building Code, Part 8 of Title 24, the 2025 California Existing Building Code, Part 10 of Title 24, the 2025 California Residential Code, Part 2.5 of Title 24, the 2025 California Green Building Standards Code, Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 of Mandatory Measures Only, Cal Green, Part 11 of Title 24, the 2025 California Plumbing Code, Part 5 of Title 24, the 2025 California Mechanical Code, Part 4 of Title 24, the 2025 California Energy Code, Part 6 of Title 24, the 2025 California Electrical Code, Part 3 of Title 24, the 2025 California Fire Code, Part 9 of Title 24, the 2025 California Wildland Urban Interface Code, Part 7 of Title 24, and readopting the 1997 edition of the Uniform Housing Code, the 1997 edition of the Uniform Administrative Code, the 2024 Uniform Solar Energy and Hydronics and Geothermal Code, the 1997 edition of the Building Standards Code, Building Security Code, the 1997 edition of the Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, adopting penalties for violations thereof, and adopting certain amendments, additions, and deletions, and making findings in support thereof.
Very well done.
You earned it for the year, huh?
I didn't win the sweater thing, but I got some applause anyway.
Well, thank you. Okay, moving right along then to AR4, Power Purchase Agreement with JNG Power Corporation related to a solar and energy storage project at the Mountain Avenue Reservoir. And Mr. Tachiki in his very cute black sweater with a little reindeer on it will be giving us the presentation.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to talk to you about a power purchase agreement with J&G Power Corporation. Much shorter than the last item.
Yeah, that's a
So for a background and overview, back in May, Dylan and I came and presented to Council about two conceptual projects, energy efficiency projects, if you'll recall. One of which was the power purchase agreement. And a solar panel array on top of the Mountain Avenue Reservoir, and then the second one being an EV charging station project. So the item again for you tonight is the power purchase agreement, or what we refer to as a PPA. Power purchase agreements are used by public entities that allow for direct purchase of power from electricity generating projects. So a PPA is a formal agreement in which the entity agrees to terms and conditions to purchase that electricity. So when you think of an agreement like this, think of it similar to how the city entered into an agreement with the Clean Power Alliance, or we enrolled in CPA. CPA has power purchase agreements with generating projects. That way CPA then brings in the power and then conveys it to cities and to our residents. So PPA memorializes several key factors: the responsibility of construction and operation of the project, the volume of electricity generated by the project, the price point at which the energy is produced, and then the contract length for which this electricity is sold. I apologize for the typo on the slide there. The proposal from J&G specifically, though, is going to propose a 15% discount rate from Edison's current market rate. So that means that whatever Edison's rates are, the CPC then approves those rates. J&G will discount that 15%, and then that rate is what the city will pay. Over the duration of the contract, the city's rate remains 15% at all times under SCE's market rate. J&G would own and maintain the electricity generating project, which means the city does not have to maintain it on an annual basis, so we don't have to pay for any annual maintenance. Any time that there's a replacement of a solar panel, we do not pay for that. J&G does. Some of the benefits of a PPA. So electricity produced from an electricity generating project is clean and renewable energy, consistent with the goals of the council in enrolling in CPA. It would reduce the city's cost of purchasing electricity. So specifically at this reservoir, or this site at Mountain, we currently pay in excess of $200,000 for this one facility. A 15% discount rate represents roughly about 30% or $30,000 in savings per year, which is significant in terms of how much we are spending on our electricity. We do not have to invest any upfront capital in this, and that J&G would own, operate, and maintain it. So like I mentioned earlier, if there's any sort of repairs, any cleaning of the panels, any sort of regular maintenance, the city does not have to spend any money on that. J&G is 100% on the hook to pay those costs. The city was just simply leasing the space on top of the reservoir in order to provide a advantageous position for those panels. The city would also retain the ability to purchase energy from Edison or Clean Power Alliance should we choose to do so. We are installing what we call an Edison interconnection. So this means that even though we'd be taking power directly generated from these solar panels, it does mean that we have the ability to essentially turn on the switch and use Edison or CPA energy for whatever reason we choose to do so. As mentioned, when council or when we presented this conceptual project to council, the feedback was, are we getting the best deal? Have we done our research? Have we surveyed the market? There are several different alternative project delivery models that we've also explored. Right now, what's before you, again, the PPA is one method to procure clean, renewable energy. Other types of proposals are what are bulleted there, which is a project development agreement, which was proposed by Johnson Controls International. They're one of the largest energy efficiency contractors and providers. They have projects throughout all 50 states. And so what they had proposed is a PDA. One of the items specific to a project development agreement, though, is that you would work with a Johnson Controls International or a similar vendor. You would develop a scope of work. Once that scope of work is then is finalized, you would actually have to pay a one-time lump sum fee to that contractor before you actually enter any sort of agreement to actually go and design or build the project. And so for that reason alone, we felt like the power purchase agreement is more advantageous. We're not investing any upfront capital with that. What I'm calling energy efficient assessment and design, so this isn't an official term, but when we talk to the Energy Coalition, which is a partner of SoCalRen and the COG, the Energy Coalition is kind of a conglomerate of subcontractors and energy efficiency specialists. What they would do is that they would contract with the city. They would then subcontract out several different trades. They would look at benchmarking your facilities. They would provide similar analysis to what J&G is providing. And then ultimately, it would be the city's responsibility to procure, develop the RFP, go out to bid, and then construct the project. So in that model there, the Energy Coalition and SoCalRen would be able to provide conceptual design and project delivery, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to build the project, which means that the city is investing 100% of the funds into that project. For that reason, then, we're also recommending the power purchase agreement is still more advantageous than that model there. And then we also surveyed similar power purchase agreements. What we had found is that there actually aren't that many power purchase agreements the same size at which what J&G is proposing to the city. The most comparable one that was readily available was the city of Ventura, and so the city of Ventura is in agreement with Forefront Power, which is another provider similar to J&G. What they're proposing, though, is a 900 kilowatt project for 3 separate facilities at a fixed rate. It's important to note, though, that in that project, itself, the 900 kilowatts does not cover 100% of the energy needs for those 3 facilities. It provides 97% coverage on one and then less than 50% for the police and fire department. So for those reasons, Forefront and Ventura entered a fixed rate versus a discounted rate. It's, again, the disadvantage to that is it doesn't cover 100% of the power needs, and so they'll still have a component of Edison rates or Clean Power Alliance, and then they'll also be paying Forefront Power as well. We also looked at, were there any readily available agreements at a 15% discount rate? At that point, we did not find anyone who had offered a competitive 15% the way J&G does. And so we found that J&G is offering the most competitive rate here. The other option is that the city could design, develop, and then maintain the system. Obviously, this is the most costly of all of the options. This means that we would be hiring an engineer and a developer to design the project. We would put out an RFP, and then we would go ahead and construct it. A project of this size, if you look at the proposal from J&G, is roughly about $4.4 million. A design for a project of similar size is typically between $400,000 to $500,000. And then on an annual basis, we would have to enter into a maintenance contract with a contractor. You're spending typically between $50,000 to $150,000, depending on how often you're cleaning the panels. Is there any sort of replacement? And then that way you have to always make sure that you're keeping up on it, because you always want to make sure that the panels are absorbing the sunlight at an optimum rate. And to remind council, the concept that you see here on the slide on the left is that it's a solar panel array. We still haven't determined the exact number of panels, but it would sit atop the roof of the mountain reservoir. It would potentially be producing up to 635 kilowatts, which is more than what we actually need at that facility. Under our last full billing year with Edison or CPA, this facility only needed about 425,000 kilowatts for the year. So this more than covers what we need. What we're proposing here is little to no visibility from either Mountain or Lemon. This sits at a lower grade and at an angle at which we don't feel the residents will be disturbed by this. One other feature to this that we will be finalizing with J&G is that there's a backup battery component to this as well. As council is aware, we are undertaking the Wellfield Electrical Project, which has a backup generator component to it. That backup generator provides safety and security should we have an outage within the city, that we would still be able to deliver and pump water up into our system. Mountain Reservoir is the second most critical in our water system. So having backup generation further protects us from emergency events. So if we have at least a 24-hour backup battery here, that would mean that we would have at least 24 hours, if not longer, energy to then get through an emergency event should we need it. So for some next steps, if approved tonight, we'll finalize the design of the project by February or March of next year. We'll go through a building plan check with our team here in community development, and then the installation would need to be complete by end of April of 2026. We are confident that we can still meet this deadline. And so for the recommendation, the two options that are in the report are to approve the PPA with J&G, or to reject the proposal and then give staff further direction. And before there's any questions, I did want to also share another anecdote as well. Similar to what we're talking about tonight on the energy efficiency side, I did want to share that earlier this month, staff was presented the Energy Champion Award from the COG. The reason I bring that up is that over the last several years, we've been undertaking several different energy efficiency efforts, whether it's outreach and education or actually project delivery. So based on our efforts in 2022 and 2023, the city was awarded a silver award. I believe when we shared that with council, the question was, well, how do we get up to gold, platinum, and so forth? So based on activities between 2024 and 2025, we were now awarded the highest, which is the Champion Award. What we did to achieve that is we participated in a number of education and outreach events through the COG. And then we completed several project-based actions. So approval of a PPA, like what we're proposing tonight, is another action that would keep us at a champion level. Specifically, what we did over the last couple of years, enrollment in CPA, the changing out of the LED lights for our street lights are all certainly actions that are consistent with that. It's also important to note, actually, that Monrovia's residents also contributed to this award as well. I was sharing with Dylan that actually at the COG award ceremony that Monrovia actually had some of the highest numbers of enrollment in the energy efficiency programs that are offered through SoCalRen, whether it's an Edison rebate, a gas company rebate, or energy assessments. And so that number was about 16. And so even though that doesn't seem significant, I would note that that's one of the higher totals throughout the San Gabriel Valley. So kudos to our residents for also contributing to the Champion Award. So thank you for entertaining that side anecdote. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Mr. Tchiki?
Since I want to make sure we stay later, I'll just ask a few questions. But I mean, thank you honestly to the staff. Thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a great step. It's a great project, great location. It's gonna, I think, really just do a lot to help us reduce our own greenhouse gas emissions, but also save money, which is really, really fun. It's like you get two benefits at the same time, so that's fantastic. I know you went over it. Thanks for doing that. I would love it if in the future we could look at doing RFPs for it, because there actually are quite a few like the Clean Power Alliance typically does an RFP for a PPA. And many other organizations out here even do that, and you'll get a lot of bids from it. So maybe there may not have been a better one on the market, but it's always nice to see them, and then you get a chance to really like hone in on some of those details and see if we can get a better deal. So thank you for moving this forward. I appreciate it.
Any other questions, comments? If not, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the power purchase agreement with J&G Power Corporation related to a solar and energy storage project at the Mountain Avenue Reservoir and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents in the form approved by the city attorney.
All right. Do we have?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Belden?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly?
Yes.
And Mayor Shevlin?
Yes. Thank you, Alex. And wait, there's more. We are convening the Monrovia Housing Authority meeting without adjourning our council meeting. And I will now convene the Housing Authority. And can we have roll call, please?
I have to get my cheat sheet on your new titles. Board members Belden,
Yes.
Jimenez,
Present.
Spicer.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Dr. Kelly. And Chairman Shevlin.
Here. Okay, moving then to our consent calendar, which is item, I think there's only one.
Two.
No, two.
Two.
MHACC-1 and MHACC-2. There wasn't anything else.
No.
Okay. Unless there's something, questions or need to pull something, do we have a motion to approve our consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, then without any further discussion and no opposition, then the consent calendar is hereby approved. Public input. Now we're going back to our regular council meeting. Public input, we don't have any additional public input. And our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, January 5th, 20th? Oh,
The
okay.
January 6th meeting is
Okay.
canceled. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I know it was left out on the agenda. Apologies.
So it is
Tuesday.
January 20th?
January 20th, 7:30 PM in these council chambers. And again, want to wish everyone the best of holidays, the best to you and yours, your family, and our happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish friends, and our hearts be with them as they work through, well, the world does, through actions, especially in Australia. And
Madam Mayor, you might want to announce the event that's going to be held Saturday in front of Jake's.
Saturday in front of Jake's. What's that?
They're going to have a menorah.
Oh.
It's going to be delivered there, a large menorah.
Oh, okay.
So it's,
I didn't, I was
it's
not
on,
aware
it's on
of
social
that.
media.
Oh,
It's going to be in front of Jake's.
Oh, but what organization?
I'm not sure if it's an organization or just people that are concerned about what's happened in Australia.
Oh, okay.
I can just share a little bit more. I received an email earlier this afternoon. Let me just pull it up so I can give specific details. We haven't shared anything yet with the public. We were just made aware through social media as well. If you give me just a quick moment. All right. So the Shabbat of Arcadia and Monrovia are hosting an event they're calling Light Up Myrtle Avenue, Saturday, December 20th at 6:30 p.m. They're just going to be meeting right outside of Jake's Roadhouse Restaurant. The purpose of the meeting is just to show solidarity with victims of the Hanukkah massacre in Sydney. They're specifically going to have a dreidel game. It's free admission. They want to have a giant menorah lighting serve some jelly donuts, have some festive music. And I think the point is just to gather and be together after some of the
Is
tragedies
it on the
we're watching.
sidewalk?
I don't have specific details on where it's going to be. It literally says in front of Jake's Roadhouse. So I would suspect it's on the sidewalk in the area around. We've let the police department know, and all of the city staff will be there nearby just to make sure that everyone feels safe and that they can gather. But that's the information that's been relayed to us earlier today.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sergio. Unfortunately, we are not adjourning in the name of any past loved one, so that's good. But again, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. 2026 is going to be a good year. And with that, then, no further business being before us, we are adjourned at 10:03 p.m. Yeah. Do I have another one? Oh, my goodness gracious. I'm sorry. Which color is that one? This one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the regular meeting of the successor agency of the Monrovia Redevelopment Agency. And I'm convening it then at 10:04. And roll call, please.
Yes, Board Members Belden,
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Spicer.
Present?
Vice Chairman Kelly.
Here.
Dr. Kelly.
Barely here.
and Chairman Chevlin.
Here. Okay, then I thought those two, I got this mixed up. I apologize. Then we are moving on to our consent calendar, there are three on that one, Edward. SACC 1 through SACC 3. And unless there are comments, something to be pulled,
Move for approval.
do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, then without any further discussion and no objection, so approved. Do we have any public input? Having no public input, I will close that section and move on to our administrative reports, for which there are none. And then we will adjourn then our successor agency to the Monrovia Redevelopment Agency at 10:05. Fastest meeting I think I've ever had. So with that then, we are completely done, adjourned. I think, yeah. Well, I got those, apologize for that. Yeah.
Bring Alex back up again.
With that, Mary, thank you.